Let's do it. All right, Toréa, so excited to have you here and talk about your new course community on Circle. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited.
So let's dive right in. Why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do, background, all that great stuff?
Sure. So my name is Toréa Rodriguez, and my official certification is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, which is a total mouthful. FDNP for short. But in a nutshell, what I do is I work with women who are either recovering or dealing with chronic illness, autoimmune disease. And I think of myself as a combination health coach and functional medicine practitioner. So I have the ability to run labs, look at their biochemistry, assess the biochemistry, and then help them change their lifestyle, perhaps some diet stuff, use some supplementation stuff to get their body back into balance and homeostasis so they start feeling better again.
Wow, that's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
it is.
How were you managing all of that and doing that before Circle? What did your setup and your client experience look like?
So, I mean, I've evolved my coaching practice over the years. And of course, naturally, it started with doing one on one. And then I started experimenting with groups. And where I finally landed is kind of doing a hybrid, a little bit of one on one, some group stuff, some training modules so that I'm not repeating myself over and over and over again to all of the clients. That gets old after a while. So I built up a bunch of content and a course. Basically, I started building courses, right? All of a sudden, I'm in the business of doing course stuff and course content development, as well as marketing and all the other things that go along with being an entrepreneur. And, before Circle, I think the biggest frustration, both for me and for my clients and for the people who work for me to try and run this business, is all of these different tools had to somehow work themselves together. So, from a client experience standpoint, they would have Slack is what we were using before to do messaging back and forth, both with the coaches as well as, community engagement was also being done on Slack. But then there was what we now call LMS, right? Learning management systems. But I had all of my courses on several different platforms. I kind of hopped a couple different platforms trying to find the right one. And then also Zoom was a part of it. And then behind the scenes, of course, there's other tools that my assistant health coach helps me navigate and, all that stuff. So just having all of those different things be separate tools and applications can be really confusing because not everybody is like an internet whiz. And so I've had clients tell me like, I don't know where to, I can't find the first training. It's like they can't find stuff, and not to mention emails in there too, and God forbid give my text message number away because that would make it even worse. So I think that is the piece that I have been striving for a long period of time, is finding one place to have it all cohesive in one location. And this is the closest thing that I've gotten to that ideal that I have in my mind. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. Well, why don't we dive right in and take a look behind the scenes at your course community?
Sure. So I will, let's see, let me start the screen share. And
you're just about to launch, right?
I'm just about to launch. I'm inviting my paying clients into the community tomorrow. And so we've been working on this together. So you can see it right on your screen.
Yep.
Great. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple different program offerings. And what I decided to do was include all of the offerings in Circle, but they're in their private space groups. So I'm still learning the terminology for Circle. So correct me, Jordan, if I mess up here, but everybody gets this home feed. And so depending upon the program that they're in, the posts that are relevant to them are going to show up in the home feed. But if they're not in certain spaces, that stuff won't show up, which is great. So this becomes customized for every single individual who's part of this community here. And then everybody who's in a program can share some of this stuff. So I've got, a top level space group called OW Community for Optimized Wellness Community. This is everybody. Anybody who's in any one of my programs can participate in celebrations and clean swap ideas and supplement trading posts and get announcements about what's going on. And then part of some of my programs, not all of them, include a little bit of one-on-one coaching. So for example, when somebody gets their lab results back, I want to make sure that I'm spending time with them answering the questions and explaining how all of that works. And so we'll do a one-on-one call, as well as we've got some one-on-one communication about that kind of stuff. So we created spaces specifically for each person so that we can have communication with them or ask them to book their lab results review session. And that way, myself and my assistant coach can keep track of what's going on with each client. I mean, right now, using Slack, I thought it was a great idea that we could have direct messaging with our clients. But then my assistant coach and I have to spend an hour each week catching each other up on what those conversations were on every client. And
Right.
so this allows us to both see what's happening live in real time so that, we can step in and help somebody faster than before. So that's really going to enable us to further use the motto. We have a motto in my program called feedback adjust, right? Every time a client has an issue, we want to know about it early so that we can adjust early and often. And so that allows us to do that. So each one has their own private space here under the coaching tab. And then, for example, one of my programs is called Deep Detox. So I have two space groups. One is Circle. So this is really where they're going to be collaborating together, and the cohort is going to be supporting each other in a group style fashion. That's all going to be happening in this Circle space or set of spaces called a space group. I'm still learning. And then also the learning. So all of the learning modules that I've put together on previous LMS systems, those are all here. So we were able to actually make it look more like courseware here than before, right? So this really helps them be able to go through those modules at their own pace. There isn't anything controlling that. They're able to go through it at their own. They're all adults, right? So let's treat them like adults. They can go through it at their own pace, as well as they can comment on the material here, and we're going to see it. It's not in this separate thing. So I don't have to have my assistant coach go log into the LMS to just go see if there's been any comments on the training material. So it's all here. And so we've set it up for the 3 programs that I've got going. And then with the lab piece, they'll also get access to this functional lab area. And so they'll be able to get that training on the particular lab that has been ordered for them. So I'm pretty excited about doing this with everything.
If we could just pause right here, because you just gave so much information and I want to make sure people are really getting what's going on. So if you scroll down to one of the programs, so like Deep Detox, we have the Circle group with all of the community stuff and the live updates and the live calls and the recordings of those calls. But then you have the learning group where we've really, some people might not notice all of the behind the scenes tweaks and settings changes that we've made, but we've removed a lot of things. We've locked things down. We've gotten rid of the sidebars to just make it a full screen kind of experience. We've done this card view layout, and it might look very different than what other people have seen in other circles where it's more of a forum type based or maybe live discussion based.
Correct. So, if, for example, with here, right, these are posts that are just in a list, right? And so that's one way of communicating with clients. Another way is to have various different posts. So for example, in introductions, we've got a place for people to do introductions. So, we've got a place to do it that way. In the discussion, it'll look more like a Facebook feed, for example. But here in the learning, it was really important for me to have it be very simple, look a lot like a learning management system, and have it be clean. And they know that they're in a space where, okay, now we're going to be learning. And so when they click on one of these, they're going to get presented with the video for that training module and perhaps some handouts. And there's some prompts to get them to, talk amongst themselves about, okay, what was your aha about that particular topic that we just talked about, to really help bring that learning home in a way that they get the support of their peers right here as they're watching it. I think it's really important to have everything be in one space so that they know who else has seen these videos, who else has commented on certain things. And sometimes I'll put a little fun thing in the video and ask them to name that random vegetable or whatever. Just some fun things to get them to be engaged.
Yeah. And I think it's cool how the learning group, that the course essentially is kind of evergreen. People can join it at any time. They can see past comments of people who have just gone through it weeks or months before them, but it's all very relevant and contextual to this exact training, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Most of my programs are evergreen in that way. I do have some cohort based courses, and we'll see how those work. I may choose to have them be evergreen as well. So this is all a learning piece in progress, right?
Yeah. And so speaking of the learning curve, what are some things that you came up against that maybe were challenges, or just getting over the learning curve of translating from an LMS and your other systems into this new way in Circle?
I think the biggest piece, because Circle can be so many different things and you can do so many different things with it. We just gave an example of how you can show posts. They're all called posts, but they're all presented in a very different way. It really took me a little while to kind of wrap my head around that, look at the program that I had before and decide whether or not it made sense to do it exactly the same way as I had it in the last LMS application, or do I need to make some changes? So when you helped me migrate Foundation, for example, I recognized that there were a lot of opportunities to make some changes so that it flowed with this Circle environment a lot better. And I'm really excited to move those clients over into this new program and start getting their feedback, because I think it's even better than it was before. So I think, taking it as an opportunity to really consider and think through what it is that you're trying to create, so that you can create something that's going to be ultimately a better experience for the clients that you've got in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love how Circle just brings everything into one place, because really these days we're fighting, especially everything is remote. And so we're fighting against friction and distraction and procrastination and all of these things online, especially when a lot of these programs are kind of self-paced. So the person has to have their own initiative to come and log in and check all the different apps and tools on a daily or weekly basis. And when we make that harder by spreading things out, it just results in frustration or low engagement, or just people, abandoning it and
Right.
ultimately not getting the result that they signed up for in the first place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately, I think, where I think a lot of people have dropped off is it's just if you think about friction, right? How much friction is in between what you're trying to present to a client and them getting that information or that experience. And if it requires 4 different logins and remembering 4 different passwords, that's a lot of friction. And so cutting it down so that it's just easy and it flows and things are in a logical order and they're easy to find, that I think is going to change the game.
Yeah. And even things too, like using the Circle iOS app, right? And encouraging your clients to download it on their phones so that your whole program is just a click away on their mobile device, whether they're out and about, they're seeing a notification that you've responded to one of their posts, or maybe there's a new piece of content that's been released. I think that's also another great way to cut through some of that noise and notifications out there and not just have it buried in their inbox somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice that there is a mobile app, because as you know, most of us are on the go these days. We're not tied to a desk or chained to a desk. At least I hope we're not. And being able to engage with their friends, because a lot of my clients make lifetime friendships. I mean, that's part of the experience in these programs. And so they get to engage with their friends in this way and connect. And I can't tell you the number of times where we'll be on a group call and they'll talk about how they're getting together and hanging out on Zoom with each other, and they live states away. Like, it's awesome. I love this kind of stuff.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited for you to launch and to see how all of your clients take to the new experience in Circle. And I'm curious, can you imagine doing this any other way after seeing what we've built so far in Circle?
No, not really. I mean, I personally have been through my own training programs and getting business coaching and marketing coaching and that kind of thing from big group programs like this. And this really does blow that stuff out of the water. I can't tell you how many times I've had to navigate some random weird WordPress to get to my training modules, and then, right, go to a Facebook group and, all of that stuff in order to engage. And frankly, I'm burnt out on having to do that myself. Right. So I am always focused almost all the time on customer engagement, except for when I have to do my monthly accounting. But or not engagement, but experience, right? So customer experience is really, really important to me. And I'm always thinking about how can I improve that customer experience for them. And this is just one more way of doing that and enhancing that so that my programs can stand out from the competition. And I am definitely not going back to anything else.
Awesome. I really appreciate you giving us this deep dive and sharing your experience with us. And I hope it gives a lot of other people too in the Circle community ideas and inspiration and ways that they can customize it to fit their program and their clients and their courses. Do you have any other final closing thoughts to share?
I guess really, the piece about trying to make sure that when you start to engage in something like this and migrating from wherever you're coming from, right? It's going to be from all these different places onto Circle platform. Try and not get caught in the trap of perfection, right? Because this is a work in progress for me. Like, I have a free community that hasn't been migrated over yet, and I'm going to have to tackle that next. And, just make sure that you get it to a place where you can get people moved over, and then you can fix it as you go. A lot of times people learn that lesson early on, but if you haven't learned that lesson, like, it's just better to get people on there and you're going to be able to address what they need, not what you think they might run into. Right. So I think just don't get trapped into the illusion of perfection. It doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's great advice. Well, cool. I really appreciate it. And let's have an awesome launch.
I know, I'm excited. So thank you so much. And if anybody wants to reach out and ask questions, I'm available. So
awesome.
Cool.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Bye.